Good afternoon, and thank you, TK. I really do appreciate the invite and just the opportunity to spread the word about all things RFM. Like you mentioned, we serve all of Madison County, and often the first time that someone comes into our space in downtown Wood River, they say, wow, I had no idea that this existed. But we don't want to be a secret. We are definitely the best kept secret, but we want everyone to know that we exist and that we're here to help people who have nowhere else to turn. We can all probably relate to the experience of either seeing someone in the community, maybe someone in your family, or maybe someone posting on Facebook saying, I'm going to lose my housing. I don't have a way to provide for my kids. I have any number of issues. And if you've never had to navigate those issues yourself, you probably don't know where to start. So we are here to show up for families who often have nowhere else to turn. And like I said, I'm grateful for any chance we get to come spread the word throughout the community, because it really takes all of us working together, with nonprofit organizations, with our elected officials, churches, schools, Rotary clubs, all these great community organizations. None of us can do this together. We really have to work as a team if we're going to make an impact. And that's exactly what RFM is all about. So RFM is first and foremost a nonprofit organization, but what's really unique about us, and chances are you've never heard of this type of model, but we actually bring together 7 total nonprofit organizations, all under one roof. And again, we're in downtown Wood River, but we work collaboratively every single day to show up for families who have been through some unthinkable traumas. Again, that's most often due to violence, addiction, poverty, and homelessness. We can say any of those circumstances are, traumas that our families carry, and there's mental health impacts and generational trauma and a lot of complexities that go along with each of those. So by working together, we're not only able to better serve every single person who walks through our door, but we're able to also share the overhead costs. So both as a community group and any nonprofit organization can tell you, it is not cheap to run a nonprofit, especially when you're starting out. When you think about the overhead costs of a building, that's not just rent, that's security, Wi-Fi, maintenance, when you need the repairs, it's the insurance, it's the printer, the copier, the phone system alone is astronomical, I can tell you. But we need phone to be able to make phone calls to do our service as well. So 19 years ago, our founding and current director, Tammy Scaris, was noticing that there were so many amazing groups in our community, like there are today. But these new groups were popping up to address these needs that otherwise were going unmet. But to do so, they were often working from their kitchen table or from a spare office. And especially in the social service space, we find that's not really conducive to doing the work well. When you're working directly with clients or groups, you need the physical space, the office, the privacy. So she thought, as she was starting this nonprofit that was focused on just the basic needs, the showers, the laundry, the rental assistance, what would that look like to pull groups in that were meeting other needs like addiction, groups that were working with kids, with foster care? They're already doing that work well. We do not need to recreate the wheel. And unfortunately, as nonprofits, we have a bad habit of doing that. We have a big heart. We want to help. We want to make a difference, but we don't always pause and say, well, that group's actually doing that better than us. How do we work together and play well in the sand and not work as a silo? So again, that's what RFM is really about. Showing up for both the individual, the family, and the community as a whole. We really have to look beyond ourselves and what we want. And we have to say, what does Madison County need? And how are we working together to solve these issues that, again, none of us have the ability to solve on our own. We have to work together. So by being in this one space, we're not only able to share all of those overhead costs, but we're able to better show up for every single person by eliminating those barriers. So if you can just for a second put yourself in the shoes of someone that's coming in for rental assistance, but maybe they're also an active addiction. It's easy to say, just go get a job or just do this or just do that. But when you think, I don't have a license or an ID, I don't have a safe place to sleep tonight or to get ready for work, or the lights are and the water's shut off, so my kids can't get ready for school in the morning. We're really looking at how do we reduce those barriers, meet people where they are, and eliminate every barrier so that they can be successful, move forward, and ultimately get to a place of sustainability. So you probably are familiar just by first glance at some of these organizations. Some are very small, local, grassroots, and some are national organizations that have a presence in Madison County. So all of these have a face in our building. And from a budget standpoint, I'll go through this a couple of times because it really is unconventional and kind of confusing, to be honest. But all of these organizations are their own separate entity. So they are a 501c3 organization that has its own budget, its own fundraising, operations, staff. We are completely separate in those terms. So by being located in our building, again, when they make their budget every year, they can eliminate the rent, the office supplies, the office equipment, the insurance, all those overhead costs that, people don't like to fund for nonprofits and are very, very difficult to sustain year over year. So although they're not getting the direct revenue from RFM, they are eliminating tens of thousands of dollars, if not more, of overhead costs to their organization. And we found year after year, they've been able to reallocate that to growing their teams, to getting case managers, community outreach, expanding their services, going into even more counties than Madison County. But again, if they had to worry about all those overhead expenses, then they just simply would not be able to have the impact that they have. So I will go in really briefly. Each one really deserves its own presentation. So I encourage you to learn more than I'll share today about each of those. But I'm actually going to play a short video about Phil's story. Phil is a really great testament. It's one thing to tell you the statistics, the lists of services, but he's a real person who was in active addiction, actively unhoused, living in the streets of downtown Wood River. And he was working with another partner agency that said, RFM has showers, why don't you just come in and get a shower? So that's what he did. When he met with a member of our team, he was able to share that, he was dependent on drugs. He was not working. He had lost everything. But by having Amari, our addiction recovery group, literally across the hall within less than 50 feet, we were able to make that warm handoff and a place where he felt safe and secure and say, here's our peer recovery specialists that can help you make that first step to get to a rehabilitation center. And he did just that. So I'll play the video to share his story.
I was a full-time dad, workaholic, part-time assistant football coach. I was working after hours services, service manager for a tire company in St. Louis. I worked for the same amount of hours, building parent name, trying to keep the house, things like that. While I was trying to get trained, just trying to keep building, trying to be a super dad. And the game was mixed match was something that used to name that we also should have. That turned into a 3-year marriage start. I went from having a new fiance, 2 dogs, my kids half a month, living on my own, like no fiance, no kids, no dogs. Struggled with my addiction. I wrote the addiction down, and on Christmas Eve in 2022, my house got had a space heater that burned up, lost the house, and then this man came, pushed the buttons. And at this point, I was a huge fan. I lost really everything. Going from having my kids from 13 days a month to not seeing them for 2 years, stepping out of the life, selecting your main toxic. It's definitely a hard road. I woke up one morning, pushed out the water, and decided that I had enough. What was I doing? Riverbend, when they opened up, I saw me in the showers. That was a blessing. I was able to come in here. I had the ladies always trying to me, come on in, grab a shower if you want to. I put myself back together a couple days a week, if I wanted to. And I eventually found that same.
I first had met Phil through Alba. She had met with Phil a couple times before, and I just knew what he needed was just a little bit of hope.
You know, I inquired about going to rehab. For whatever reason, I wasn't ready yet. I was not. And then one day I went in and I talked to Sam, I said, Rachael, and she got me in immediately, which was the turning point. I mean, that was everything.
Not only are we able to lean in and to become family and hear their story, they trust us. And they trust us for us to lead them by the hand to another part of the family and say, let me introduce you to my friend that works at Amara, works at Refuge, or works with SOAR. They've already established a level of trust with us. And so when we say, let me introduce you personally to someone, that warm handoff, I really believe that means so much. I was really driving Phil at the beginning, I help him stay on task, and I kept him driven, and I'm just trying to be that person. And when Phil was ready to go into treatment, he had, yeah, let's do this, and I was just like, okay, let's do it, and the next morning I came in and I woke him up, he was sleeping on the ground, he was just 100% ready to go, change his life, and I just knew at that moment I had envisioned, Phil today, and it was just a blessing.
So from a year ago, I was almost jobless. I hadn't seen the kids in 2 years, a year down the road. I had to take a grandson to ice cream a couple of times. I got to have him for Christmas, which was really cool. Had out with race cars or whatnot. Instead of I got an apartment again. Able to pay my bills. I'm able to eat, support myself again, and I'm back to like with everything I'm still sorting through. I can smile almost every day. I'm generally pretty upbeat. I'm calm, and I can deal with pretty much whatever life I was in. I mean, I've been on a rough road, so it's definitely a huge transformation, and it wouldn't be possible. I mean, if there wasn't people like Martha and MRA able to do these things, they're absolutely, it's amazing, an amazing place to be, amazing organization. What you guys are doing there is really, really important to countless people. There's so many people that can use this as a stepping stone to life back then. Absolutely essential, I think. Without him, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I just wouldn't. Definitely a positive force. And
so when you make a gift to our them, you are not only just changing the lives of the many Phillips that walk through, you are changing generations. So changing their minds and making sense of them. That's why your dollar trick are.
Like I said, Phil really is a testament to how our model works and why it matters. A year since that video was recorded, Phil actually went on to actually get a job, a paid position with Amari as a recovery coach. So he was working in hospitals directly with people who are going through addiction. And by having that peer recovery piece, that we find that's a really effective tool for people navigating recovery and really increases the likelihood of them staying on a stable path. So whether you're someone like Phil or you're, just simply treating the basic needs, we see a very, very, very wide range of guests that come through our doors. So like I mentioned, again, going back from a budget standpoint, when we talk about RFM's funding and operations, RFM really is this building and umbrella that allows all of this collaboration to work. We also fund our client service department. So this is really the face of RFM and really focus on meeting those basic needs, on keeping people happy. So we're not a shelter, but we can do a lot to prevent eviction and prevent homelessness. So that's really always the goal. But we also work directly with unhoused guests. So we are open Monday through Thursday, 9 to 1 to guests. We again have the showers and laundry that is open to anyone. It's like a first come, first served basis. And I just always like to do the thought experiment of if for some reason you weren't able to shower in your home tonight, where would you go? For me, I have a YMCA membership. I would maybe go there, or I could go to my best friend's house, my parents' house. I have options, but if you're living, chronically on the streets, you probably don't have a place to do that. So again, it's really hard to go to a job interview if you are not hygienic and put together. So we can offer both the showers and laundry, and we also apply all of the toiletries, both the travel size, full size, whatever they might need. I provided a wish list of the items we do accept, so we're always looking for donation drives to make those possible. Again, while they're here, they have the option to schedule an appointment if they are in need of rental or utility assistance, and I'll go a little deeper into what that looks like. But that service is specific for Madison County residents. We have a whole application process and criteria. As a privately funded organization, we want to be good stewards of the resources we have available. And if we wrote a check to every single request that came in, we would probably run out of funding by January. So our team does an incredible job of meeting with every single client, going over their application and getting to know them as a person. Sometimes you really just are struggling with a couple extra bills. Sometimes you are in active addiction, or one of the partners is being abused and cannot go on to support themselves financially. We see every single case. So we really want to get to know them as a person and figure out how we can lean in, fill in the gaps, and beyond writing that check to the landlord to keep them housed, how do we really set them up to succeed long-term so that they are financially in a good place and also have their basic needs met. And I'll mention again, all services are free of charge to the client. Of course, not free of charge to us, but that we never want even a $20 fee to be what prevents someone from getting any type of service. So we get a lot of questions of who is eligible, and this has kind of evolved in the last 6 months. But traditionally, people living in Madison County, you have to live there at least 6 months. You can't owe over $1,000. And again, we try to be good stewards. We have a certain amount of funding for this program. So we try to limit, and there are, cases that may not apply, but we work closely to be able to provide every resource we can and work closely with other community partners if for some reason there's something that we're not able to help with. And these requests can be made once a year. So again, people aren't coming back every single week. And we again don't want this to be their main financial plan. We want to work with them to look at their budget, make sure that they're set up to succeed, keep them housed, keep kiddos in a safe spot, and start coming up with a plan for that long term. Pretty new development. We've actually recently been the recipient of the Illinois Department of Human Services homeless prevention funding. So we work closely with Madison County Community Development, and there's about there's $1 million that's given amongst 3 organizations here in Madison County. So we receive around a little over $300,000 just for this program. And that's allowed us to hire a dedicated case manager and have additional funding that's really focused on people either actively experiencing homelessness or at risk of eviction. So I won't go too deep into the weeds here. I'm happy to share more information. But this additional funding has allowed us to make larger payments. So say someone needs 3 to 5 months of rent payments, they have a larger utility bill that usually we would not be able to cover. And we can do those initial security deposits, which with our normal funding, we're not able to do. Another difference is these requests can only be made every 2 years, because again, we're making some pretty big investments to get people housed and keep them housed. But again, we want to make sure that they also have a plan to have additional income and be able to maintain that. By the numbers, last year alone, we served almost 1,500 families. And I always say, just when we're serving just mom or just dad, that doesn't impact just them. And, the average household is 2.5 children. So just thinking of all the resources they have when their needs are met and they can have what they need to show up to school on time and be clean and be able to, be in a good space. As TK mentioned, the coat drive last year. In addition, we do a large Christmas outreach to all of the families we serve throughout the year. We invite them to participate in our community Christmas event. So if you're struggling to pay rent and utilities, probably don't have much, if anything, left over for toys at the end of the year. So although that's not a basic need, we find it really makes a difference in the well-beings, especially for the kiddos. And it's really a magical time. And so I thank everyone who helped with the coat drive. So we're able to give away free coats in addition to the toys last year. And if you have a chance this December, that happens the week before Christmas. And it really is just the most magical time to see families come in, and it's very dignified. They get to pick out what they want, and kind of like just like they're going shopping. So I'll send more information about that. But again, thank you guys for everyone who participated in that. Another ongoing service this past winter, you guys are probably familiar with the overnight warming centers here in Edwardsville. Whenever temperatures fall below 20 degrees, they activate for that overnight piece. But more and more, the last several winters, we find that it's still pretty cold during the day, and you can still get frostbite and even pass away. So this literally is a life and death, matter of life and death to have this service. So we were able to work closely with just a few of these key funders, as well as a lot of individuals that stepped up both with financial contributions and volunteer hours. We had a really high number of visitors, so those are some returning visitors, but we were also able to provide a warm meal every day, sleeping bags, emergency, blankets, hand warmers, everything you can think of. And we raised almost $15,000 to make that possible. And again, that was a very big undertaking. Our normal operations did not stop, but we were able to bring people in during the day until the overnight shelters opened. We work closely with ACT, who was able to provide bus tokens so that people can get where they need to go. But again, it truly takes all of us. So whether you're on the funder side, the community partner side, the nonprofits, churches, it was truly amazing to see this pulled off in a short amount of time, but it was nice to be able to significantly expand our efforts compared to what we've done in previous years. Going into our partners, again, I can't begin to do them justice, and each one deserves its own presentation, but just to really give you an idea of what they do, how that works. If you ever get a chance, I would be more than happy to walk you through our space, because it's one thing to say it, but to really see it and walk through and just to see like our refuge space where our kiddos come, it really is just eye-opening to get that experience. So I would very much encourage you to get a hold of me, and I'm happy to schedule it for any time. So starting with NAMI, they're our newest partner. They're the National Alliance for Mental Illness, another national organization that has a presence right here in Madison County. Like I said, mental health goes hand in hand with any type of trauma. So they do a great job of navigating the wide variety of mental health resources available to our clients. Although they don't do the direct therapy, they can definitely connect them with what they need within their budget. And again, if there's a fee associated with that, our client service department can pick that up, because we don't want that fee to be what prevents people from getting those critical services that they need. They also do a lot of public advocacy. So they do free presentations in the workplace. So I encourage you to get in touch with them if you're looking for someone to come in and speak to a wide variety of topics around mental health in the workplace. Refuge has been around with us almost since the beginning. They work with young children up to age 12 who either experience or witness violence or trauma in the home. It's a really heartbreaking thing to think about. But as you walk through the space, it's a reminder of how bright and inviting. You just can see firsthand the healing that goes on in that space. They have a therapy dog and a great team of art therapists and play therapists that work directly with kiddos to give them the tools to heal and really avoid that generational trauma. CASA, another national organization, court-appointed special advocates, works with young children, volunteers who are helping them navigate the foster care system, advocating to make sure that they don't fall through the cracks and that they have what they need as they're going through legal situations. Mari works with individuals and groups navigating addiction recovery. We know addiction is not something that there is a magic cure for. It's typically a lifelong battle. So to have that team that can wrap around them and provide that long-term piece really helps make sure that they're accounted for long after they leave our. Mountains of Molehills actually does in-home repairs. This is something that is very, very difficult to find funding and manpower to do. But they'll actually, if you need a wheelchair ramp, you have a hole in your floor, hole in your roof, they work with underserved communities to be able to do those repairs. And group interventions actually works with adults who have inflicted violence, which can feel very controversial to share. But we want to make sure that, again, hurt people, and the only way that we can stop that cycle is to get them the help that they need to heal. We have our services scheduled in opposite hours, so they're never crossing paths with young children who've experienced violence. We want to make sure our staff, our clients, our team, everyone is safe. So we're really intentional about that. But we want the family as a whole to have everything they need to move forward. Let me know if I'm running over on time. Time. Okay. Okay, I'll wrap up just by saying, I'll skip our budget breakdown, but we have an upcoming golf tournament on July 10th. So we'd love for you to join us for that. And we do an annual banquet on September 17th. So I have flyers for the golf tournament, as well as the long list of ways to get involved. We always need volunteers. We have a wide variety of ways to do that. Showing up to our events, inviting us to speak throughout the community, in your office, your church, wherever that might be. It really helps us spread the word. Partnerships, the wish lists of in-kind support, and also just monthly contributions are always the best way to make sure that our doors can consistently stay open and we're able to deliver the services consistently. So again, never hesitate to reach out to me directly if you have a question, want to come in for a tour, have a question about a partner agency. We'd love to see how we can collaborate.